Body yada 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 yada. Welcome back to my series and pole dancing. Today we're going to be discussing body image and pole dancing. There will be some talk about diet culture, weight loss, and body dysmorphia in this video. So if those things don't play well with your mental health, feel free to skip this one and I'll see you in the next video. You've heard me talk at length now about the necessity of being minimally clothed while pole dancing. As a refresher, it's almost impossible and dangerous to stick to the pole with clothes on, so you'll need to have as much skin exposed as possible. We've already talked about how that automatically carries with it the assumption that pole dancing is slutty, but what else happens when your sport forces you to wear almost nothing? Pole dancing makes you confront your own minimally clothed body each and every time you practice the sport. If you don't understand why I used the word confront, then you've likely never had body image issues. But if you have, picture this. You decide to take up a new sport. You choose pole dancing because it's all the rage on social media. You're not a huge fan of your appearance, but you know pole dancing can help you change that. You arrive at class, take your clothes off, and then you're standing around wearing almost nothing, surrounded by other people doing the same. There are two ways that this can go depending upon where you are in your body image journey. The first way is that you can glance around at your new pole buddies and giggle at the awkwardness of you all standing around in your skivvies, and maybe somebody will compliment your shorts, you'll notice that somebody has a cool tattoo, and you'll feel comfortable knowing that you're not alone in this. The second way, maybe you'll take off your clothes and immediately start comparing your body to the other bodies around you. Maybe you'll find them all smaller or fitter or more impressive than yours. Maybe you'll see yourself in the mirror and find ways to avoid your reflection. You might feel extremely self-conscious. And here's the kicker. In both of those scenarios, the people in your class are the same. It's your perspective that's different. But what if, and this has happened to me many times now, you are the least fit person in your class and it isn't all in your mind? Aerial fitness tends to attract people who are already athletes in some way. It's common to run across dancers, crossfitters, martial artists, etc. in your aerial classes. So you might start comparing yourself unfairly to their abilities and by extension their bodies. And if you're struggling, you might start to blame yourself and by extension your body. This especially becomes the case if it's a person in a smaller body who's performing better than you in class. Maybe you're routinely struggling to hold your weight off the ground and Jessica over here is flipping her legs over her head over and over again. Of course, body image issues do not have to be related to weight. Remember in our last video how we discussed our stereotypical image of a pole dancer as a cisgender feminine woman? What if you are a woman, but you don't have curves like she has? What if instead of carrying your weight in your breasts and your butt, you carry it in your stomach? What if you don't have long hair to flip all over the place? What if you're the only person in your class who identifies as a certain gender? What if you have prominent scars, dark body hair, tattoos that you regret? What if you're the smallest person in class and you feel tiny compared to everyone else, or the tallest person in class and you feel like a giant among them? What if you're the only person in your class who wears glasses? All this can compound into a truly nightmarish body image scenario. Let me pause here. Remember, when I talk about these scenarios, I'm usually going to the extremes just to get the point across. You may never experience the feelings I just described, but let's keep talking about this. You can't know a person's physical ability just by looking at them, especially when using size as your metric. A fat person might exercise every day and have excellent cardiovascular health and muscle tone, and a thin person could never exercise and not be able to do a single push-up, but we're taught that the second person is the healthier one by virtue of them being smaller. It's important to remember also that just because someone looks fit doesn't mean that they're automatically good at the activity. Back when I used to do silks, I assumed I'd be great immediately. I've always been very muscular, and at that point I was lifting weights several days a week. But as it turned out, all of my big impressive muscles were just for show. When it came to the actual sport, the muscle movements I needed were so specific that there was really nothing to it except repeating them over and over. So, if you're in a pole class and you size up your peers as athletes or non-athletes before you even get started, you may be proven wrong. Let's talk about small bodies for a moment. Small body people can absolutely be body shamed from a multitude of directions, and pole dancing might bring up certain body image issues for you that it doesn't for other people. If you're very thin, you might lack some of the muscle mass and strength that you need to hold yourself up on the pole, so you might feel frustrated when watching others succeed at that venture. You might struggle with things like thigh holds if your thighs don't naturally touch as much. You might feel insecure when you're asked to be sexy if you don't look the same as everyone else does in their undergarments. However, you will have the benefit of maneuvering yourself around easier when you do build up the strength. If your body is smaller, it's less stress on your muscles to twirl you around the pole. A note, if you are especially small in every way, you may need to find a studio that offers poles specifically for small hands, as regulation poles may be too hard for you to hold on to. You absolutely can pole dance if you're small, but beware of double-edged compliments. I once told someone that I was taking up pole dancing and she said to me, "Oh, I wish I could do that. I'm just so skinny, I would slide right off. I just don't have enough fat on my thighs." Let's talk about big bodies for a moment, and I'm going to start us off with a couple of caveats. You're never going to hear me say that you are too big or you can't pole dance because of your size, because I'm not your doctor, your personal trainer, or you, so I have no idea what your body can do just by looking at it. However, if the pole you're using has a weight limit, you need to respect that. Nobody wants you to get hurt if the pole falls down upon you, and you can usually find weight limits listed on Pole Studio's FAQ pages. However, the most reputable pole brands, being X-Pole and Loopit, especially when installed correctly in a studio setting, including being drilled into the ceiling, can support multiple dancers spinning around the pole at the same time, so just call your studio and ask. And if you ever walk into a studio space and, without you asking, they take a look at you and tell you the weight limit on the poles, run. For people who exceed the weight limit on poles, that does not mean the sport is inaccessible to you. You can always do floor work or dancing around the pole without ever leaving the ground. And you can build up your strength for when you get on that pole by doing weightlifting or practicing your flexibility. My other caveat is this: the heavier you are, the more difficult pole dancing will be. I don't mean this to be malicious, but I am just stating it as fact. I personally have a much heavier lower body than upper body, so any move that involves bringing my legs over my head is that much more difficult as I work to maneuver the weight. Add more weight onto that and it gets harder. That does not mean that you can't do it or you can't work up to doing it. I want to share a clip from one of my favorite pole dancers, Roz the Diva.
People who are obese, overweight, plus size, full figured, whatever word you'd like to throw at us today, we're told you're what we should be. You are the before of sports. You're not something to strive towards. We want to do everything in our power to get away from people who look like you. Time out, boo-boo. This is a celebration of you exactly how you are today. Not when you lose 50 pounds, not when you sprout up 6 inches, not when you can do the hardest tricks you've ever seen in pole. But today, right now, this minute, we're celebrating you as an athlete.
God, I love Roz. And she's right, but she's unfortunately a minority in the pole world. If you're above a certain size, the fact that you're pole dancing at all is going to be sensationalized, and you might even become a discussion topic. Sometimes you'll be criticized for even showing up in your underwear to try pole dancing. Sometimes you'll be infantilized and applauded for doing the bare minimum, like, "Oh, you showed up to a pole class and you touched the pole once, so brave, so inspirational. Well, where do you get your confidence from?" And then we have headlines like this: "Plus-size pole dancer is beating obesity one spin at a time." Pole dancing is, at the end of the day, a form of fitness, which means that the fitness and diet industry has sunk in its
big, meaty claws,
with no sign of letting go anytime soon. This might be yet another case where you go, "Oh, geez, Kelsey, you read so much into things," which every video is like that, so what are we doing? But bear with me here. There are almost no physical activities that you can start up without being bombarded with messaging about how you must want to lose weight, right? That's what you're here for, right? Mom sheds 120 pounds after taking up sexy pole dancing hobby. Average workouts leading to average results. There's a plane passing by overhead, and it's loud. "I need that cheese, don't make me say please." Once in a pole class, the instructor asked what we were hoping to learn, and that immediately turned into a discussion about how everyone wanted to lose weight, which immediately turned into a recitation of exactly how many pounds everyone had put on recently. This is all before I had even had a chance to stretch my hamstrings. Another caveat: I can't tell you you're not allowed to want to lose weight. It's not my place. It's a personal decision. As much as I want to sit here and soapbox about the evils of the fitness industry and how it's making us all dissatisfied with our bodies, which I could do for so long, I'm not going to do that here. I don't know your journey and the reasons for doing what you're doing. You might lose weight doing pole dancing. You might not. It's highly likely you'll even gain weight because you'll be putting on more muscle. But how unimaginative is it to take a sport that involves shimmying up a stick wearing almost nothing and hanging on by your own skin and reduce it to, what a great way to shed the pounds. I find certain messaging especially toxic, such as this blog post I came across called Things That Will Kill Your Pole Dance Progress. However, this doesn't mean you're allowed to eat anything you desire. Eating junk food after working out will put all the calories you tried so hard to lose back into your body. You can pause to read the rest. This is my 5th take of saying this because I get mad about diet culture and then I talk too loud. Man, if I want to eat some pizza after kicking my own ass during a pole session, then that's what I'm gonna do. Who even told you I'm trying to lose calories? This is what I'm talking about. This type of crap is sandwiched between other tips like make sure you always stretch or make sure you give yourself adequate rest, which feels like it gives it equal weight when to me it just really reads like bullying diet culture BS. There, I was quiet, that one. I personally have followed a few pole dancers on Instagram because I think they're awesome, or more commonly because their body looks a lot like mine, and then had to quickly unfollow them because their page became a cesspool of diet culture messaging. If I follow you because you're showing that someone who looks like me can excel at the sport that I love, and then everything you post is about how fat you think you are and how you can't wait to lose all the weight you've gained, how is that going to make me feel about myself? For a long time, I let that responsibility fall onto creators or people in my class, thinking to myself, well, they should be doing better. But now, I claim that responsibility as my own. I can unfollow them, or I can choose not to engage in a conversation about weight loss. I have that power. They can continue their weight loss journey, and I don't have to participate in it if I don't want to. Which brings me to self-perception and body positivity. For most of my adult life, I've been on a body positivity journey to come to love the body that used to feel like a prison that I could so easily tear down for hours after a single glance in the mirror. But let me tell you something shocking about pole dancing. It hasn't really furthered my body positivity. Instead, it's opened a brand new door that I'm coming to realize feels like home for me: body neutrality. Where body negativity and body dysmorphia say, oh, I hate my legs, they're disgustingly overweight, and body positivity says, my stretch marks look so cute on my jiggling legs, body neutrality says, my legs exist, they're part of my body, moving on. And that's exactly what pole is beginning to bring to light, for me at least. When I'm holding myself up by the grace of my own inner thigh skin, I can't think, oh, I wish my thighs were thinner, because if they were, it might just be harder to hold myself up. I'm also not thinking, oh, my big old thighs, they're so great, look at those tiger stripes. I'm just thinking, damn, I hope my thighs hold me on here, let me squeeze these muscles tighter. When I go back and look at footage of myself on the pole, I can see my stomach bunching up when I do an inversion, or my thigh dimples pulling when I hook on with my knee, or my arm jiggling when I reach for the next grip. But pole lets me see those things as part of the greater whole. Does it matter that there's a roll on my stomach? Not if I got into the right position for the move. You might be able to clearly see my cellulite when I'm doing a figurehead, but look, I'm there, it's the figurehead. Do you see what I'm saying here? It's easier to pass no judgment on the body itself, negative or positive, when the end goal is not how your body looks, but instead what it's doing. I know, that's the opposite of what I said in the previous video. If we rewind to that, pole dancing is the aerial art that is most about how your body looks while you're doing the moves, not how the moves look that you're doing with your body. It might seem like I'm directly contradicting myself, but the body image part of this is all internal. Yes, externally, pole is all about how your body looks while it's doing the move, but when it comes to self-perception, that's the exact thing that allows you to zoom out, so to speak. Your whole body is working together to make the move correct, so if it's doing that, it's doing the right thing, regardless of if it's flattering or not. Remember, I'm almost in my late 20s. Oh my god. If the thought of you being able to be neutral about your body while it's flopping around a pole sounds absolutely ludicrous to you, remember that it might come in time and it might come with a lot of hard work, but I am so excited for you to get there. There is no one pole dancer's body. It has no height, gender, size, or shape. If you have a body and you put it on a pole, you have a pole dancer's body. In my last pole class, as I stood there in my little sports bra and shorts, stomach rolls out, cellulite out, hairy legs and hairy armpits out, stretch marks out. I looked around at my classmates, everyone else in their equally skimpy little outfits, and for the first time I was able to see us as people, not just bodies, neutral. And that felt pretty radical. Diet culture, big meaty claws.